Awesome. So it looks like we're live now. Thank you everyone for waiting. Um, Today we are looking at Team 6 from our Collab Pioneer challenge, or our Collab challenge. And if you tuned in yesterday, we kind of talked through a little bit what this is all about, which is basically a challenge that we've given to some key pioneers that we've selected to basically use Gravity Sketch Collab and see what they can create together, working together over like a 4 week period. And kind of we left it pretty open ended for them to create whatever they wanted. So yeah, just really it's a pleasure to join Team 6 today, and we've got a few different bits of background here of designers. So I will just go ahead and hand it off to whoever wants to go first. Maybe Zofia, if you want to go ahead and go first, if you want to introduce yourself, tell everybody a little
Okay.
bit about who you are and what you do.
So hello everybody. I am Sofia. I'm from Slovakia and I'm academic educator and car design freelancer. And I've been using Gravity Sketch for over 2 years till this day. And yeah, we've met together with Giga and Matthew in this collaboration. And we are from really different design corners, I would say. So it was a really nice time exploring and creating together here in a co-creation. Yeah.
Okay, I can go next. Hello, everybody. My name is Matthew. I am a footwear designer at 80s in Stockholm. Originally, I am a trained industrial designer, so I work with product design. I worked with automotive as well, but mainly my strength is in footwear. And I've been using Gravity Sketch for about 2 years now, and it's really been useful for me in my sort of early ideation process and being able to sort of get a bit of a closer look into what a final product might be like in 3 dimensions, much quicker than if you were working with 2 dimensions or with a factory where things take much longer.
Hi everybody, my name is Giga. I'm a product designer and I'm currently working as a UX and UI designer for a company called Boson Protocol, where we're building a 3D world in the metaverse. And I'm using Gravity Sketch to test out some concepts on yeah, different layouts in that 3D world. And it's come really a tool that I use from day to day, like daily, but also in my free time. And yeah, I'm happy to be here with my team and to showcase what we have done as part of the Collab Challenge.
Awesome. I realized too, we also might have some new joiners too, maybe some new people. So, Daniela, if you want to maybe introduce yourself as well, that
Hi.
would be good.
Yeah, definitely. Hi, everyone. I'm one of the co-founders of Gravity Sketch and CXO. And yeah, I've been working really closely with Jaren on this challenge and the first phase of the collab like release with the pioneers. And I'm really excited to be here, seeing the work that these guys have been putting into collab.
Awesome. Yeah, and I guess I'll just quickly say my name's Jaren, and I'm the community manager for Gravity Sketch, and I basically connect all of you, the community out there, with Gravity Sketch. So it's great to get to interact with all of you. But without further ado, I will just go ahead and hand it over to you, Team 6, if you want to just go ahead and take us through what you've done here together.
Sure, Matthew, you want to take it away and explain how we started this whole challenge and discussing the idea?
Yeah, sure. So to begin, we kind of thought about what we could do together. And I think when we started off, we looked at each other's sort of skills and career paths and what different things we could bring to the table when working on something together. And so one thing that was sort of proposed that was an idea when we were shooting some things back and forth was whether we'd be doing a motorcycle potentially. So it's something that none of us had really designed before.
Yeah.
It's still automotive, but we could still use different skills from each of us respectively, as there's a lot of sort of smaller technical parts that might be more up Ziga's route as well. It's still within vehicle design, so it's quite similar to Zofia. And then there's also some textile on here as well as just in general form, which would be something that I'm very familiar with. So finding something that we could all sort of work together on and bring our own expertise towards was our main goal. And so we were scouring the internet for all different kinds of inspirations, but we looked a lot at something that would be somewhat similar to maybe what we were trying to do, just to get a little sense of what was out there. Some ideas where there were sort of concept bikes that we'd seen previously or on Instagram. We were also quite inspired initially by the company Polestar, just because their design language is quite minimalist, but also quite stylish and unique at the moment. But also getting inspiration from just other products, headphones, helmets, different forms just within bikes, and just some sci-fi looking concept products as well, just to sort of give us a little bit more direction as we embark on the project. Would somebody else like to comment?
Yeah, sure. I'll take it away. So we sort of took this final image here of a cafe racer. We thought the shape was really cool, and we wanted to sort of progress this further and see how an electric cafe racer of the future could look like. So we took this image and used it as a reference image and started sketching over it. So you can see some sketches here. Initial sketches, just experimenting with lines and openings. One of the key elements of the cafe racer is this open space in the middle of the body, and we just wanted to check how we could take this over with the benefit of having an electric motor and trying to open up this opening in the middle. And on the top here you can see our sort of final key sketch that we moved forward with. And started wireframing. So here are a bunch more shapes that we experimented with, just to have some additional ones. And Zofia was already a bit quicker and started modeling a few electric bicycles. So maybe Zofia, you can tell more about those.
I really wanted to enhance the white space or the missing space between the character line inside the vehicle. And yeah, I tried to experiment with the PNG textures, because this is really, for whoever is watching us, this is really easy and nice, quick way to start with the textures and something which maybe mimics a parametric modeling. You just have a full surface, but you can easily change it to this pattern or texture. So yeah, that was a nice exercise, and yeah, and also I would encourage maybe students to try color and trim styles here. It's super easy to change the colors, materials. So yeah, you can have multiple solutions on one design. Yeah, and then we got close to the initial sketch, since it was like cleaner, and yeah, we decided to go for something more Polestar like. Giga, you can maybe explain it more.
Yeah, sure. So one thing we also did was we imported this pre-made model of a motorbike, and yeah, later on used some of those elements as well, like the wheels and the spring here in the back, to bring some realism in. And if you move forward here to this more expanded wireframe model, we played around with different wireframe variations of a motorbike and how the shape could look. Really, thinking about the frame and how the surfaces would flow. And then here at the top, you can see a rough surface representation of that wireframe. We then took this a bit further and started polishing it, adding different details and trying out different color variations as well. And we got then to the final model that you can see here on the top, on the pedestal. And maybe Matthew, you can jump in and explain some of the features that we built.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I would like to say though, first about our process and using the wireframe sketches to sort of help sort of build a bit of a profile and a silhouette and get some lines and some character lines and creases for the bodywork is that it's a much less intimidating way to work than going straight into sub D. And it's a really great way to sort of start the process off where you can still get a lot of detail. You can still get a lot of different sort of figure out your panels, your crease lines, you know, where the light placement can be. And that's something that I used previously when designing, when doing some automotive work in here as well, where it's really useful to just be able to have a much freer, quicker, more rough way of starting than having to go straight into sub D, which is something that you would then work on later when you're working with like reflections and exactly how the bodywork is going to be put together. But yeah, for this final design, we were working with a couple different things. As you saw before, our key sketch, we were really focusing on playing with negative space and realizing that in the future, as with many things, technology should be getting smaller. So there should be eventually more space available for us to play with, or at least more space for, or less space for the mechanics and technology to take up. So we sort of worked a little bit with this sort of, I'd say, arrow shape design where there's a lot of free space underneath the seat. And yeah, I think that was one of our character lines. But we also looked at potentially having something where air would be able to flow through the frame of the bike and not just be a solid block and just have the air flow around it, which would help with aerodynamics, which then would also assist with overall distance for the battery usage as well.
Yeah, and the batteries could be stored inside the frame, so it takes much. And yeah, we were thinking about this translucent panel to make it like a gradient there or some kind of a small pattern, and yeah, to keep this crystal and minimalistic feel.
Yeah, I think in an ideal world, that nice translucent frame would be something like a bit of a much more frosted kind of look that would create a nice little blur effect with all the mechanical components behind as well.
One of the challenging things as well was designing this suspension here in the back. We tried to make it as believable as possible, but yeah, it was quite a challenge to think how it would function by having, you know, so having this opening available, but have still some kind of a suspension in the frame. So this was the final solution we came to.
It was a chat on Instagram, I think, no?
I
I was pretty fast.
created a group on Instagram, you know, for us to communicate. I just threw out an idea of an electric cafe racer, and this was something I wanted to design during my studies. I thought it was an interesting idea, and yeah, popped into my head again, and everybody seemed to like it. Also, the recent like Polestar design trend that's floating around everywhere. We really
Yeah, the one from Arthur Martin, yeah.
yeah, we wanted to try ourselves building something along those lines. So yeah, everybody was up for it, and we quickly jumped in and started bouncing ideas. And yeah, what was really interesting to see as well was that our processes were really aligned. We tried to do everything in Gravity Sketch as well. There were no like exterior sketches that we imported or whatever. So it was really fun to design something from start to finish completely in Gravity Sketch, and as well collaborating on it with others.
There's something really amazing that I've seen in your workflow that I haven't seen in other pioneers presentations, which is you were really kind of like merging your brains together to come up with this final concept, right? And like, so you were really creating together. How was that process like? You know, was somebody sketching and then the other people were commenting on, or you know, how did you ended up creating all of these different content?
So it was, yeah, if I can jump in and answer that, it was more or less we come up with an idea and then we started working in our own sort of direction. You know, trying things out, especially in the early stages with sketches. And then we just reviewed all those possibilities or those sketches and discussed which ones we liked, which ones we didn't like. You know, if we take certain features from a certain sketch and bring it to the other, to agree on the final sketch and then move to the next phase, which again was, you know, everybody branching into their own sort of way, then coming back together and, you know, evaluating all of the solutions that we came up with and then moving forward. So we quite quickly came to decisions. So yeah, it was a really fun process.
Yeah, there was not so much friction or like some like polar opinions. I would say it was like, okay, let's do this, let's do this. It was a really easy flow.
Yeah. And I feel like with a lot of times with working together with other creatives is that you can't all do the exact same thing. So a lot of the time it starts with conversations just to sort of get at least on a similar path. And then from there, we all kind of do our own little ideations and then we come back together and then we see what we do like, we see what we don't like, we see what people are sort of more attached to or more passionate about, and we try to bring those forward and then refine and create something a little bit more cohesive, and then just sort of repeat. And once we find ourselves on a bit of a same path, then we just work on refining and improving that concept.
Mhm. Yeah.
How do you think this was different than your regular workflow when you're collaborating with other people? You know, what did collab actually bring to the table?
I think for me it was really, um, you know, connecting the designers from different regions. I think this is super powerful. You know, Matthew is originally from the States, and I think he's now in somewhere in
Stockholm.
Europe. Where?
Stockholm.
Stockholm, yeah. And Zofia is from Slovakia, and I'm from Slovenia. So the opportunity that we got to really work on this together was, you know, the next level in designing stuff, I think. Um, but also that everything is in one place and we could jump in and all
Oh
work.
yeah, it's so easy. It's so
Yeah,
easy. No external drivers, no like sending files,
we
exchanging
just have to
images
share
or
it already.
conversation. Like yeah,
Yeah.
you don't even have to save it. Thanks God.
Yeah. One thing I'll say is that I before I am at the current role that I'm at right now, I did do an internship that was completely remote because it was during the pandemic and I never actually met anybody that I worked with. But just dealing with having to work remotely is so difficult when everything is just based around sending files and taking pictures and stuff. But having this here, it's just like a little design room where if you were in the office, you'd have a stuff all over the walls. It'd be a total mess. And that's exactly what this is virtually. And it connects you a lot and much better than anything else could when you are working with people who are distant, are, you know,
Yeah.
separated by distance.
Exactly, it brings this design studio feeling into the virtual world,
Yeah.
and just allows the collaboration between multiple designers, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, and I think there's a reason why generally, I know I say this, but I don't say I'm logging on. I say I'm going in, because it feels like more of a physical place to go work and to
Yeah.
work together.
And we feel more connected, I would say. It's not so,
Yeah.
True.
the relationship between us is closer than if we just communicated over chat or over emails or even Zoom for me. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think it was less stressful for me. That was the biggest benefit, because if I was working with a traditional workflow and try to sketch, let's say, this motorbike from perspective, I would die. So yeah, it's like much fearless and stressless to work here,
Mhm.
and you can create much more details than in the even in Blender. I would say just faster here.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is
Also,
some really cool stuff.
one thing I would like to add as well is, also trying out the CMF variants. That's also super powerful. You don't need like a extra render engine or whatever, or render program to try out different textures, different color variants. That's also super powerful. Of course, when you go out and do a final render, that's important, but just brainstorming and talking about ideas and coming up with a feasible prototype. I think that this flow covers it from start to finish. Just this final rendering, for example, at the end. This is something that is left out in this flow.
Yeah, I mean, you've really kind of like made use of all the little tricks that there are within Gravity Sketch to make sure that things look a bit real, look like give you a bit more information apart from the geometry that you're putting in there,
Exactly.
which is really cool. And so, which were the challenges? We've spoken about the good stuff, but there's definitely some like challenges, right? Or not?
Good question. I think one thing that I was missing was sort of when we were working on a specific piece of geometry. For example, this front section, right, or this top section where in a traditional bike that would be um, the tank, right? Fine tuning certain points can only be done by one person, not two of them at the same time. So that's something I would say is a challenge, but it's a minor thing.
But
It's
I think since it was motorbike and it has so many parts, it was not a problem because you were working on the frame, Mitri was doing, I don't know, the wheel, I was doing the holder here. So like everybody found his place and we just managed. But
exactly, yeah.
yeah, in the car, when you have one sub wheel, it's like one huge surface over the whole car, then and just one person can do the, the main geometry that can be yeah.
Yeah, we could split the work, right? But when you're discussing, certain sections or some detail, how this split line goes or whatever, yeah, then it would come in handy. But again, it's a small thing that I would say, or a small challenge that we faced.
Oh, sorry.
So
And
maybe a wish list item is if I'm hearing you correctly, is the ability to edit the same surface or the same object that someone else is also editing, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
yeah.
Great.
Interesting.
If there's a real wish list, it's subtractive modeling. That's the golden wish, maybe.
And a popular one at that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. No,
Any other?
yeah,
Sorry,
sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that there weren't a whole lot of challenges, and I think part of that is due to the fact that we all um, are familiar with Gravity Sketch, and we sort of have our own workflows, but we also know how other people would generally work as well. And I don't know about if Ziga and Zofia have I previously had some experience with Co-Create, uh, the original creation collab, I guess. But I'd say that the biggest challenge is the same that it would be with anything, which is schedules lining up.
Oh yeah.
But
That's something. It's maybe a little bit related to something I wanted to ask you all, which is there any kind of I guess like collab etiquette that you created for yourselves when working together, whether it's like when someone's in the room while someone's not in the room, what to do when you each of you are working on the same thing. Any kind of rules maybe that you set for yourselves? If not, it's fine. Just wondering if you guys had.
And we just text each other like, I'm jumping in, please joining me. Sometimes we were here alone, and usually when somebody started doing something, we just duplicated the original geometry and then continued. So we didn't do the video step or somebody else work. And I think, yeah, we didn't talk about it like. It was
I'd say we were all pretty well behaved from the get-go.
yeah, we are
Awesome.
behaved designers.
Yeah, also, for example, I think if we would be working on like a final model, then this would come more in play, right? That having multiple versions that you can track all the differences between them. But since this was like a fun project that we just wanted to build out, it didn't matter that much if we sort of destroyed some changes or whatever. We could always try and model it back. So we didn't find that as a challenge, or at least I didn't. Um, it was always, ooh, let's see what Matthew or Sophia did today when I was offline or something. And
Mm.
yeah, I would say it was a challenge.
Yeah. Oh, one last thing that I will say that is a real nice feature is that when people open up their menu, you can see it. So
Hmm.
when I didn't know where something was,
Yeah.
they were able to show me,
Yeah.
if something like that. I don't know if that was on the previous Co-Create, but that was an extremely helpful new feature.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I learned a few features from you guys. That was super helpful, like some super deep, I don't know, solution or the I check the banana tools more. So yeah, I've learned a lot.
yeah. I think one of the last things that we were discussing was how to scale the wheels down a bit because they were too big on the original model.
Mhm.
So I think this scaling was also just recently added to Gravity Sketch. So was fun to show it to Sophia and Matthew.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. The share UI is something that we did add a little bit later. It is, I guess, maybe a fairly recent addition to Collab. It's just, I think there's a lot of benefits that it brought. Not only just not only being able to understand what someone's looking at, but just from a teaching aspect as well. Especially for someone that's completely new in Gravity Sketch, like you could show them exactly what menu to go to. So, yeah, glad to hear that was helpful.
So, looking at your presentation, like, did it happen organically that you created kind of like this presentation flow because that's how you were working, or
I'd say that this is a visual representation of how we worked, but when
Yeah,
we're doing it, it's a total disaster zone.
it was a mess.
Yeah.
So
We
this is the
we
organized version
maybe
of
15
that
minutes
disaster.
before the presentation.
yeah, it looks very organized. I was like, wow, you guys are very organized. So I
Yeah.
imagine you had many more sketches floating around, or
No, we haven't lined it like this. Like the mood board was somewhere here, and then like I was doing because my style was very right, and I don't know the ideation sketches was in the center, and it was not chronically aligned. So,
Yeah, that's what's
but
really
we,
cool
we
about this too.
remember how yeah how we got to the final shape. So we just
Yeah.
organized it chronically.
I really like your use of warping transparent PNGs, Sophia. It's really cool to see like your use of that. And and I think what's just always cool to see in collab, especially when there's been multiple people in a space, is that you really can visually see the different minds at work, and the different styles, and that's really it's really apparent here. So, um, and kind of how it, I guess, feeds into the final result. And so you guys really beautifully showed that flow from just like pictures all the way to sort of each each of your flavors kind of brought in through the process. It's pretty cool to see, like just the linear flow of that.
And so, how do you think Collab is now going to be part of your workflow? Because I imagine now that you have, tested it in a project, you are starting to get ideas on how to bring it into your day-to-day workflow.
So I think I'm starting to skipping Photoshop rendering a lot. I just go here.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just like I don't have 6 hours to render something. I can like just go here and do something. And yeah, I will focus more on Gravity Sketch Blender for workflow, I think, and maybe also Gravity Sketch to Alias. This is what I want to explore more. And yeah, I'll also teach this my students in Bratislava. And yeah, we have a collaboration with Skoda, and they really, really want us. The collab from Skoda, the brief was like, please teach us Gravity Sketch Blender or show us like how you do it freshly with your young students. So yeah, I'll focus on that mainly. And yeah, we'll give the experiences I gained here. I'm also passing it to my students. So yeah, it was great for me to work with you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, for me, it's I have some coworkers that have Oculus Quest headsets as well. So I didn't get the chance yet to have them downloaded and join me in Collab Room, but I'll definitely do that for the next thing I'll be working on in Gravity Sketch. So yeah, can't wait to do that. For now, I've always been sharing my screen, like being tethered to the PC, sharing my screen and showing them around. But now that I'll be able to bring them in, will be much quicker, easier, and more fun, I guess.
Yeah. For me, unfortunately, nobody else at work has a headset at the moment. That may change soon, though. But I have a group of friends who I did a big project with, and the project is over now. But one thing that we like to do is when we did have co-create, and of course now with collab, we're going to keep doing it. But we would it's a good way for us to all keep in touch after we have all sort of gone our own separate ways and got our own jobs. And we just come in and we ideate. We're all big Star Wars fans, so we'll draw a couple ships here and there and just work together and have a good time. It's not always about just like the work. It's sometimes about a great place where you can just be creative with other friends of yours.
That's really cool. Definitely important, and yeah, it's somehow kind of like cutting the distance, right? And just
Mm-hmm.
allowing you to be in the same space and just have conversations and like throw some lines out there and start creating together.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Are there any last thoughts, any last things that you would like to say in terms of your process, your like the time that you spent working together?
Um, I don't think I have anything else to say about my process, but thank you guys for inviting myself and us to be Collab Pioneers. It was great getting our hands on this early. A lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah, I would join Matthew on that one. I think it was super fun to, yeah, from you guys to connect us all and give us the ability to work on a fun project like this. And yeah, thank you again for collaborating, Jeffrey and Matthew.
Of Of course.
Yeah, and yeah, thank you for joining us together. It was fun to explore and to work together. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, I would say a big thank you from Danielle and I as well for you guys giving your time into this challenge, and actually really coming together, putting your brains together, and making something. Because we know that all of you are working professionals too, so it doesn't always work out, with busy schedules. So we just really appreciate you guys, any of the time that you put in. It's really cool work. It's really, really, really amazing stuff.
Yeah, like really amazing stuff. The level of detail that you've gone into, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, thank you so much. The ones being thankful are us for you guys kind of like doing the Pioneer Challenge and for doing all of this great work, giving us feedback, being there when we needed to communicate with you. And I think this is only the beginning. I mean, you're always going to be the Collab Pioneers, and there's definitely more things to come.
So cool.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Well, thank you everyone else that's been watching. And if you missed it, if you joined a little bit late, this will be available when the live stream is over. So thank you all out there for watching as well. All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
See ya.
Thank you.
Yeah.